So my name is Dorcas Kenya. I'm a marketer by profession. I live in Nairobi, and I've been in the IT industry for the last about 10 years or so. Well, we met at work, in the workplace. So I remember it was around 2016. I joined Cerulant. So we met there at workplace. So in one of our endeavors, and within a short time, like about 3 months, he left and joined MasterCard. So I was left there at Cerulant for some time, and then I also left the company and joined another company. Then I think after that, he around that year, 2018, he moved from MasterCard and joined Cerulant again. And that time I remember he told me he also wanted to talk with the parents so that they can officially come to our home. And yeah, I was very excited that he was just about to officiate everything.
So had you set a date, for example, for saying yes, I do?
We didn't set a date, we just set the month. So we said March is the day when they would have come for the first introductions, and then
March which year?
March 2019. That was 2 months before he died. And then the wedding was supposed to be in September.
So tell me what happened.
Yeah, I remember that day he was very jovial in the morning, but he was to go to one of the strategy meetings for the company, and I think they had gone to Zambia, but somehow his passport was somehow not processed in good time for him to go, so the colleagues flew out and left him. And so because I was with him that weekend, he was kind of down because of that, but I just told him, like, once the visa is processed, maybe you can join them later. So he was very jovial though. In that morning, he woke up, he went, and before he left to work, I remember I hugged him for a very long time until he told me, like, you're going to make me get late for work. But I never knew that would be the last, like, hug or moment that I'm with him. And so, like, all of a sudden, so around lunch hour, so that day I was also having some commitments at work, so I left. And then around lunch hour, I called him and asked, like, how he's doing, and he told me he's in a meeting and he's heading to a meeting. So I wanted to print. I'd passed by his place. He was living near Westlands, near Dusit. So passed at his place, and I wanted to print something, but I couldn't be able to, so I called him, and I wanted to just know how to sort of print through the internet. But then, because that wouldn't have been possible, I told him, he told me that he's going to come show me at after in the evening. That's what he told me, because I was printing a document for an interview which the HR wanted me to send. And so that was the last conversation we had with him. It was just about like around 2:30. That's when I spoke with him, and so he told me he's going for a meeting with his team members, and yeah, then just like about 2:30, at about 10-15 minutes after that is when I heard some bang. And I did the usual thing that we normally do. Like before, when we hear some loud bangs with him, he would go to this side of the kitchen, and then he looks at, when you're at the kitchen, you could see Ibis, and then when you're in one of the, on the sitting room, you could see Dusit. So that side, that area for Dusit. So I went to the side of the kitchen, I didn't see anything. I went to the sitting room now to just look over, and I saw very black smoke and loud bangs. I was started wondering what is happening. Then I realized that was Dusit, so I ran back to the phone and called him, and unfortunately he didn't pick. So because he had told me he's going for a meeting, I was kind of very scared. So I called the team members. I knew his team members because I was formerly working at Seriland. So I knew the employees there, majority of them. And then, so I called them, and they told me that I remember I called Carol. So I asked her where Ashford is, and she told me that Ashford went to 4th floor. They were on 5th floor, so he went to 4th floor to call to get some of the people who are trapped in, who had not yet gone out. He went to sort of remove them. I wasn't surprised with that move, because Ashford, as I knew him, he was this very strategic person who sort of is very good with calculations and analytical, and I would understand, like, being even not picking calls, like when he's in like trouble or somewhere where he needs to think straight. He doesn't like interferences, like those which are emotional. Like if I was guessing, like if he picked my call, I would have made him more panic. So he doesn't like that. He likes thinking like just straight. So I was very troubled to learn he's there, and I was just feeling shaken. I was just feeling very shaken. So after that, then I called the sister, I called the mother, I just informed them that he's there. We pray for him and the people who are inside to see it. It was a very scary moment for me. And then around 4-5. Initially, because I had contacts for my colleagues, for my former colleagues at Seriland, I would talk to them and they would tell me, oh, Ashford is fine, they are hiding, you know, they would tell me where they are. And then all of a sudden at around 4-5, I would call the same people and they would take me in rounds. And that is when I started suspecting something is not right. Like there were no more updates about him. And I got really scared. I felt something was not right. I felt like something has just departed in my soul, but I couldn't tell that like he's no more. So around 7 is when now the CEO called the sister, and the CEO of Cellulant called Ken Joroge called the sister, and he told her that it's like Ashford is no more, and he gave him like the explanations of the circumstances that led to his shooting, like how he was they were hiding in a toilet, and one of the toiletists happened to open the toilet and somehow removed him. Only there were two of them, but when he opened the door, only like the other person was hidden, but Ashford was not. It was hidden by the door. It opened behind that person. So unfortunately now for him, they found him and they removed him out, and apparently I don't mind here they asked him to introduce himself and just shot him dead. Even after knowing that, even after being told that he had been shot, we still went to stay there, like hoping. I think I was first in denial. Just being there where the Red Cross tents were, hoping that somehow he will come out. But unfortunately, I think as days passed by, we came to the reality sinks that he's no more, he's not coming back. Death is something that no one prepares you for, and especially for someone you love. I had never experienced that in my life. Like, I know people die, close family members die, even my dad has passed before, but I think his hit me very differently and very painfully, and all of a sudden you are in this new world, new reality, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to start, and before you pick up the pieces, it took me time. You wonder, you had a life which you had planned together. You had plans for the future with him, to get married, to have a life with him, and then all that is cut short. So you feel like a part of you has gone. A part of you is not there anymore, and you don't know how to fill it in. You don't know how to handle all that. It was I would say very, very painful. It's a very painful cut of a future. It's just that you just feel it's been cut off and you don't know where to start. I think the counseling helped me a lot, because then my counselor is, like I would say, armed me with some of the things I was going to expect on my journey of healing and how to start over again. It is very hard, by the way. It's very hard to start all over again. Starting those weekends you used to like hang out together, they are not there. So that adjustment of someone you love and they are not anymore it can never even be compared to a breakup. In fact, the reality, like, of how sometimes some ladies tell their kids, oh, like, your dad died, I think that is a very misinformed statement, because the pain of losing someone you love and like death, it's a very different dimension. It can throw you even into depression or just stress. But I thank God I had a very good support system in my family, and the counselor who was counseling me, called Lina from Baghdad Baptist Church. And I would say starting over again has been the hardest thing, because sometimes you wonder, where do you go? Are you offending them? But those are all things that the counselors, like, the counselor, if you have a good counselor, they'll tell you, like, you know, this is what you'll experience, this is what will happen. Yeah, and then you also don't know when is the right time to start, because then people will tell you, oh, you know, you need to move on with life, everything happens for a reason. But for me, that statement used to be very painful, because I normally think it was not the will of God for him to die, and to die young, I would say. So when people tell you that, oh, everything is in the plan of God, that is a very wrong statement. Either way, it hits differently when you are the person who is being told that. When you hear that, you know, Al-Shabaab are killing people, when you hear there was Westgate attack, when you hear attacks in Lamu, you only hear of it in the news, but this time it is you who is affected. So it hits very differently, very painfully, and you realize it can also happen to you. Like when you are at Dusit, I would see, like, as you are stuck there waiting for them to be removed, but the whole world was continuing with life. Like everything was still going on. So it's a painful thing. And I would say this Al-Shabaab, killing an innocent person, is not a solution to whatever, say, countries or whatever is happening out there between countries or between people, whatever hatred you have. It shouldn't come to the innocent people. It's just painful. It leaves people in pain. There's a time I couldn't speak about him. There's a time I couldn't speak of the loss because it was too much. So right now I find it like easier to speak about him, and to speak about that experience. It's not an easy one, but I normally say it happened for God to maybe use me to encourage other ladies who have gone through the same. Because when I was doing my counseling is when I realized, oh, these things happen to many other people, many other ladies. It could also be many other men, you know, who lose their fiancé, or in such a manner. It might not be through the Al-Shabaab, but somehow someone just dies before you start your family together. So yeah, I would say it gave me a different perspective. So whenever I find someone in such situations, I easily reach out to them and, you know, take them through the process, the kind of emotions they will expect. And I may not fully understand their loss, but I would say I can relate, because every loss is very different for each person. Of course, the enemies somehow have to fight back. It's just that it affects innocent people which is very painful, which is very, very painful. So I wouldn't say that they can't, our army shouldn't be sent to Somalia or any other country that has peace issues. I would just ask maybe we be more like proactive in terms of like intelligence, because like that Dusit attack, before the American embassy had issued some intelligence around it. It is how we handle it as a country. So the preparedness of handling such issues and acting on such intelligence is what I would say the government should sort of improve on. And also the people themselves is a wananchi. We should try to also be vigilant enough when you see such people, because they come and hire out houses near us, but people are just quiet. They don't say, oh, we are seeing this kind of people, strangers, and this is how they are behaving, because there are some people who have been reported and police have acted fast enough to either arrest them and in case they had those bad intentions. So I would say it's about acting on intelligence more swiftly and better preparedness for such.